Ooh. Where have I got to be? Put your arm out for me. Okay, that's fine. Just checking where I'd have to sit to still be on this. Because I'm doing it the other way around rather than us being able to see the screen. I've just sat on half a bar of chocolate. So we are, well, as you can see, we've moved house. So we are in a completely different home now, which is our first home bought together. And I think it's fair to say we're very happy with it. And we've still got a couple of things to sort, but we're getting there. So we've not done videos for a while for a number of reasons. I know we've done a couple of in-car ones over the last couple of weeks, but we're hopefully going to get back to doing this for our 7 regular viewers. So yeah, we were just going to have a little bit of a catch-up on some Disney Plus content. So we have videos to do on Kenobi, which is only got one part left. And Ms. Marvel, which has had 2 episodes so far. So we'll probably do them as separate videos, but this will be the first one, and it's going to be about... You choose.
Kenobi.
So we'll talk about Kenobi. So obviously everything's in place for the finale now, and I've enjoyed it. I don't think it's been knock me sideways, oh my god, amazing. But it's been good and it's been interesting. I know lots of people seem to be quite on the bash it bandwagon, but I'm a bit like, get the fuck over yourselves. So, and it's just there's kind of this whole, this is the thing I've loved about it the most, is it really fucks with your assumptions based on what you think you know on timelines and plot developments, the Star Wars universe. Because Kenobi series is announced, everyone instantly goes, well, he was on Tatooine the whole time. We didn't really know that he definitely was on Tatooine every single day from the end of Revenge of the Sith to the start of A New Hope. I assumed it. I was guilty as anyone with that. But we didn't know that. That wasn't fact written down anywhere. So the fact that he's had a little fortnight holiday off world, and it's not been about Luke at all, it's all been a Leia story, that's just genius to me. I was just like, oh my god, I remember after the first episode saying to you, oh my god, I hope it's actually all about Leia now. It's not just like random first episode has got her in or whatever. And lo and behold, looks like it might swing back to Tatooine for the final episode, but it has been an Obi-Wan and Leia story, which just adds so much to it. The whole, like, why she would go to him for help in her most desperate hour and all this kind of stuff. And then people have gone, oh, but she called him Ben, she called him Obi-Wan in the thing. Well, yeah, I mean, she's a little girl now, and it's like 10 years later. She's going to probably not have massive memories of him. She'll remember it for sure. You don't go through what she's just been through and not remember it. But I think that's fine. And then the whole, like, people are, oh, you can't have met Vader. Well, no, actually, what Vader says, a presence I haven't felt since... Could be fucking yesterday. The next word could have been yesterday. You don't know. But that works for me. I think it's a bit sort of... I think it would be trickier if they revealed Vader knew about the children. I think that's fairly explicit. That was not a thing in the original trilogy. I've just been talking for ages. Sorry, it's the tablets I'm on. It's worse than normal. What do you think?
I was just listening to you talking.
Oh, okay, that's fine. So I've enjoyed it. I think this week's episode, it was nice seeing the training session between Anakin and Obi-Wan. Even though they didn't really do anything to hide the fact that the actors are 20 years older than the last time they did a scene like that together. It's yeah. But I was like, do you know what? I'd rather that than you try and digitally de-age their faces and it looks terrible.
Weirdly though, it didn't look that jarring to me.
No, it didn't at all. No, I mean, neither of them are. I mean, again, if you consider, I'm guessing, I don't know, based on Anakin's outfit, that must have been more Revenge of the Sith than Attack of the Clones. I'm desperately trying to remember what he wears in Attack of the Clones. Does he wear that outfit?
I want to say yes.
That brown one with the...
Yes.
Because my
Sure
first
it
thought in that scene was it was more Attack of the Clones timeline than Sith, because the Clone Wars didn't appear to be happening.
I think that's pretty much his outfit as...
And he still had the Padawan rat tail.
Well, it's the braid is the Padawan thing.
Yeah, that's what I call the rat tail. Rather than the like crap man bun ponytaily thing that I think he then had in... God, I might be muddling these up completely now. Anyway.
Well, no, because in Sith he just had the shaggy hair. Looking like a...
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah, of course, yeah.
Looking like a bloody wannabe from Bon Jovi.
Yeah, so the short hair and the braid...
Is a
I think I did.
thing.
It might be another ponytail in this episode, to be honest. So you are talking more Attack of the Clones than
Revenge of the Sith.
So again, when was Attack of the Clones? That came out in 2002. They filmed it in 2000. So you are talking 22 years ago since those actors embodied that timeline of their characters. Someone will pick us up on this, I'm sure. But anyway. So you know, it didn't. The thought crossed my mind, but it didn't. Like you say, it didn't jar. It didn't like massively bring me out of it or anything. And lots of people have been banging on about the Inquisitor. Well, that plot hole's solved.
Which was never a plot hole.
Not really. No.
Because we have had multiple occasions of people being stabbed through the gut by a lightsaber that doesn't kill them.
Yeah. As long as you've got a handy back to tank, you haven't got to worry, have you? You know, I could do with one, even though I'd be a nightmare because I can't even have the shower in my face. Never mind submerged in water, I'd be screaming. But yeah, I think Kenobi's just done some really. I mean, we both said this tonight. The minute we saw Indira Varma appear, it was she's far too big a name to actually survive this.
Well, for me, it was the moment she explained her backstory as to
Never explain your backstory.
Because she is basically Imperial, but she's Imperial. You know, she's not a double agent, essentially, in the classic sense. You know, she's not a rebel from the beginning who's basically infiltrated.
She's not a Hux.
The Empire. No. Well, Hux
No,
wasn't.
I suppose she's probably more like Hux than anybody now. Said it out loud.
Well, no, because Hux was doing it for petty category. He just wanted to piss off
Kylo Ren.
Yes.
I'm the spy.
But she was very much, you know, she makes a point of saying that, you know, initially she's one of those people, effectively, I think, that you see in a lot of kind of how things like fascism work, which is that basically she's someone who genuinely wanted like law and order and thought that something like the Empire...
And she got NCIS. No.
What?
You said she wanted law and order.
Yeah.
And she got NCIS.
This is why I don't tend to talk much on these videos.
You talk loads on them. He does. But yeah, go on, fascism, NCIS, law and order.
Yeah, you kind of ruined my flow now.
Oh, sorry. But yeah, but your point is that she wasn't that kind of spy.
No.
Yeah.
So she basically kind of shows the path. Oh no, I can't. I've completely lost my thread now.
Oh,
but basically, she effectively tells Ben why she turned on what she initially believed in, and it's just like, yeah, the moment you do that, you're a marked character at that stage.
Bye. So where's it gonna go? Where do we think this is all gonna? What do we think next week's episode? Is it a longer episode next week? Have we got like an hour rather than 40 minutes or whatever? I don't know. I've not looked. But I'm assuming there's got to be one more showdown between Vader and Kenobi.
I don't actually know, because this seems to be more a showdown between Reva and Kenobi, because Reva knows to go to Tatooine. Oh, spoilers, by the way.
Yeah, I'll put it in the title. Yeah. I don't know. Again, maybe that's just me being 8 years old and hung up on Star Wars original first time around. Because I was back then. I'm not so much now. You know, but this is the thing that confused me, right? So I've been playing, aside, the Lego Skywalker Saga, which is like 9 films, and there's like character packs for Mandalorian and Bad Batch and all this kind of stuff. I was like, when I was a kid, there were characters called like Snaggletooth and Walrus Man, and all these very childlike names, and now they're called things like Ponda Baba and Abadubu, and I don't know their names. I don't. So I knew them all, and and then back then when there were just like one, then two, then three Star Wars films, I knew everything. And then it started to get into expanded universe and stuff like that, and I kind of drifted away from it, and I was teenager and whatever else. But then the one that spins me out, so they've gone like sensible names. They've given all these creatures like race names and actual names and stuff like that. Except what I always knew as the power droid, which makes sense, a little box that gives out power. They're now called gonks because that's the noise they make. That's like a complete reverse. You could have left that a power droid and it would have fit. Now you call them gonks, I'm just a bit like, Anyway, complete aside. So you think there probably won't be another big showdown between Anakin and...
I don't think there will, because because ultimately this isn't a story about Darth Vader.
No, it's about Obi-Wan Kenobi.
And Reva. And Leia, actually.
Yeah. Oh, wow. See what happens. But yeah, I mean, it ended with a close-up of Luke sleeping soundly in the Lars Homestead. Oh, Jesus Christ. So I'm guessing that's what led me to think it's leading down he's going to have to go home to save Luke thing. And then presumably stay there for the rest of the time since he's had his 2 weeks off world break. So I don't know. I just think it'd be really interesting because they've listed this as, again, looking at the differences. This is listed as parts, so it's parts of a whole, not episodes. Whereas Ms. Marvel's listed as episodes. So this is obviously meant to be a complete whole, just one event. They could choose to come back and do more if I suppose if they get an idea of a good story. Don't tie it into the main. It's cats, the universe. You know what I mean? There could be some other threat that Kenobi has to keep Luke safe from. Sand people, I don't know. The Sand people riots of whatever year. I'm just spitballing. So yes, I think it's going to be interesting to see where it goes. I think it's a worthy addition to Star Wars lore. I don't feel like it's not the sort of thing I'd rewatch straight away. I'd rewatch it at some point, but I don't feel any real urge to go back. Maybe next week's episode will change that, but
I think the weird thing about this, which is very different to, because ultimately, it's a show, because we've had this conversation about some Star Trek properties. I only said Star Wars then, because that's what we're talking about at the moment, where they're kind of set before established events. So you kind of know, well, this can't happen because in 5 years' time, X has to happen, and it involves that character.
We should do Strange New Worlds this week when there's a new episode out as well.
And I think, weirdly, Kenobi, and suffers is the wrong phrase because it implies that Kenobi is worse for it as a result, which it isn't, because it is a very good show. But it's something that I think Kenobi experiences way more than similar kind of, I'm not sure what the term is. It's not prehistory, but other shows that have been set prior to where we are in the established timeline. So things like the Clone Wars series, things like the Bad Batch series, because by and large, a lot of the stories in those kind of shows touch on characters that haven't really appeared in the established timeline media up to this point. So you don't necessarily know what will or won't happen to certain characters. Whereas obviously with Kenobi, we know Kenobi cannot die in this because he is destined to meet his end on the Death Star in 20 odd years time, effectively, give or take 5 years. And I think to a certain extent that detracts from perhaps some of the emotional impact. I mean, certainly for this episode where there's lots of what's Ben going to do kind of thing, and ultimately there is that voice at the back of your head going, well, it doesn't really matter because whatever happens, he's going to get out of it somehow because he has that date with Destiny further down the line, when he takes Luke off to rescue Leia when they're sort of, young adults sort of thing. But I think even with that, it's a nice character piece, I think, for Obi-Wan Kenobi, because he is largely, from, if your experience of Star Wars is just the movies, he's essentially, he's Alec Guinness. He's a bit one note. He's a bit sort of, very much the sort of the tropey, aged mentor who must die to kind of set the hero on his journey kind of thing, which is very tropey and cliche these days. Which I think is the other thing that's nice about this show is that it doesn't focus on the supposed chosen one in terms of Luke. It's very much been about Leia. And again, we've had conversations about this, which is that ultimately, I think it's safe to say that Leia is, in a lot of ways, as a character, far more important to the Star Wars storyline and universe than Luke ever was, because of where she was placed as a baby, what she grew up to be, her involvement in, she's popped up as a character in things like, was it Rebels that she popped up in?
Yeah, she's in Rebels. She's in the end of that film where she turns up looking all CGI.
Rogue One.
Thank you. I love, actually.
But, and even in some of the, as far as I'm aware at the moment, still officially non-canon sort of Star Wars stuff, like the various games, things like, not Fallen Order, because I haven't finished that yet, but the Force Unleashed.
Mm.
Like the second one, where it's very clear that she has always been an instrumental part of the whole rebellion, the formation, the leadership. Probably up there with people like Mon Mothma, who is, I think, going to be rocking up in
Andor.
the Cassian Andor.
Yeah,
one,
she's in the trailer, isn't she?
Yeah. So it's kind of nice to get those kind of character building moments.
But you're talking about Leia there. I think actually what this does very well is shows you why she got involved.
Yeah.
It's very clear that she's seeing firsthand at what, that she's supposed to be like 10 in this, 9 or something.
Something like that.
So she's very much seeing firsthand, the very earliest seeds of the rebellion, and also certainly some sort of anti-empire attitudes and views, and why
first-hand experience of the path. And,
yeah, exactly. So I think
people are going through.
From that point of view, this has done a cracking job of showing you that she didn't just go, right, I don't like the Empire because I'm a goodie. It's given you a solid reason why, because you think about any situation we've got right now, in some of the terrible things going on. I'm sure there's lots of Russians that don't believe they're the bad guys in the Ukraine, and lots of guys in the Ukraine who don't believe they're the bad guys either. That's a war with two sides, and it's your experiences that tell you which side of that fence you're on. Even what we would consider to be some of the most evil people in history, I'm sure didn't go, ha, I'm evil, so I must kill lots of people. They were like, no, I believe these people are impure and bad to the human race, and so I will kill them. That's a terrible point of view to have. But in their shoes, they didn't sit around going, oh, I'm a baddie, did they?
And I think that's one of the things that historically, in terms of a lot of the media, and you mentioned earlier the expanded universe, that's something that Star Wars has always historically been very bad at, because you're right, no one who is on the wrong side of history ever believes that they are on the wrong side of history. No one, for the most part, sits there and thinks, aha, I am a genocidal maniac, I am evil, I am this, I mean, I don't want to bloody Godwin this video, but Hitler isn't sat there, sort of believing that he is the devil incarnate. He genuinely, abhorrent though they are, he genuinely believes that what he is doing is for the good of Germany, for the good of his personal beliefs. It's a view that's held by anyone who is racist, anyone who is sexist, anyone who is homophobic. None of them sit there going, oh, we are bad people. They are operating according to their beliefs. But I think I suppose some of it could be laid at George Lucas's door, but Star Wars has been very much about the yes, we know we're the bad guys, haha, and
it's even called the dark side of the Force.
Yeah,
it's like...
and and there are certain books where
it's the dark side,
where you have characters doing evil greetings to you, Dark Lord, kind of thing. It's just like no one ever actually talks like that, and I think that's what certainly the sort of I suppose I can call them the expanded universe shows, because they are expanding the universe in terms of canon. But it's what things like Kenobi, Bad Batch, Clone Wars are very good at doing.
So here's the thing. Go on.
It's basically just actually sort of putting some nuance to the Empire. It isn't mustache twirling sort of maniacs. It is you're getting to see people that like Indra Varma's character, who genuinely at the beginning believed in what the Empire represented. You are seeing the more traditional type of villain, the self-promoting, the self-interested. You've got probably people like Moff Tarkin is a brilliant character, because he genuinely got massively fleshed out, and you can basically see him going from bog standard Republic intelligence officer to where he ends up as effectively
evacuate in a moment of triumph.
Yes. But you were going to say?
I was just thinking, like, so you've got like the light and the dark side of the Force, and then that just struck me as a bit like, well, is that not inherently a white man's perception? And then I thought the only other thing is the Dark Lord. Well, that's Harry Potter. That's a white woman creating that. I don't know? Am I reading too deep into it to say that would a non-white person actually consider the dark side is definitely the bad side? Is it a white perspective?
I would say it's possibly a very Western perspective.
Yeah.
As in sort of certainly white Western, but certain Western ideology, because I think that there's an awful lot from what I know of stuff of kind of the Force is very much, I think, initially perceived to be a bit yin and yang, and of course we all know growing up that you got exposed to the yin and yang symbol, and of course each bit has like the little sort of dot that is the other color. But again, I think it's a very simplified, westernized corruption of what is actually a very sort of deep yin and yang is not sort of good and evil. It's balance. I think my understanding of it comes as essentially it's like sort of it's more like sort of law versus chaos, sort of growth versus stasis, all of that sort of stuff. It's basically forces that need to be balanced, and they're not inherently good or inherently evil, and they all contain a part of the other in them. And yes, it is about that whole sort of finding the balance between the two, because I think sort of, and you get stuff as well with there are texts come out where good is not nice, dark is not evil, all of that sort of stuff. So I think that's a lot of what they're trying to do with some of the Star Wars stuff, is kind of move away from that. And and again, for a lot of certainly people our generation, and to be fair, the prequels for their generation, they are very much you kind of grow it. You kind of, I suppose a lot of people discover them as kids, so your view of the world is inherently more simplistic, and it's it's like the massively inappropriate and inaccurate that is now, like sort of kids of our generation used to play cowboys and Indians. Again, taking a very jaundiced, very Western view of that whole period of American history. This is this is like the fantasy sci-fi equivalent of that kind of simplistic good guys versus bad guys, them versus us mentality. And shows like Kenobi, I think, are doing a really good job of kind of let's kind of just step back from that simplistic view a bit and kind of put a bit more nuance into it. That and I think that's something that Rogue One did really well, and the Clone Wars as well, because obviously introducing characters like Saw Gerrera, is to basically do the whole the rebellion is fighting in terms of the universe, fighting an evil fascistic force, but a lot of the people within said rebellion aren't exactly whiter than white saints themselves in terms of what they're prepared to do. And I think we need more media like that generally, but especially in something that's as effectively monolithic culturally as Star Wars.
Well, interesting, because you said Saw Gerrera. I didn't think of him at first. I was thinking more like Hondo and people like that, where it's because Saw still fights. He's the extremist for fighting the good fight, whereas people like Hondo, it's just the
opportunist.
How do I stay alive and make money?
Yeah.
And interesting that Hondo now goes right through to Batuu and Galaxy's Edge. But yeah, so yeah, cool. So it's probably got quite long, hasn't it? Yeah, we've enjoyed it. We're liking it a lot. So I can't say I'm loving it. I'm not like sitting there going, but I think it's a good series, well made, well thought out. I think a lot of people have got ants in their pants over nothing, and I'm excited.
Fandom, surely not.
I know, right? And I'm just excited to see where it goes next.